Well, Thursday night, and I'm here. You should be here. It's the month of August, and at Pearls of Great Price Empowerment Services, we have declared this month the month of transition. And so I'm here again. I'm not usually here on Thursday nights, but I'm here on this Thursday night for a new segment just for the month of August. Thursday Night Live with Jiselle. And so I'm going to be here alone sometimes, and then I'm going to be inviting some friends along with me, and we are going to be dissecting, dismantling, deconstructing the topic of transition. And what does it mean to transition, and how you could approach this process of transition strategically and effectively. So, good night and welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you are really excited as I am because we have been planning to serve you a feast for this month of August, and we don't want you to miss anything. So, every Tuesday, every Thursday, and every Saturday, we will be here serving you. So, we like to say, call a friend, call your sister, call your neighbor, call a cousin, tell them Pearls of Great Price Empowerment Services is on, and you are in for a treat. So I'd like to ask you, if you know you're in for a treat tonight, just share the live. Share it to your page, share it, share it, share it. Don't keep this information to yourself. I'd like to say good night to some folks tuning in. If you're tuning in from my Facebook page, Pearls of Great Price Empowerment Services, good night and welcome. We have some folks joining in from Twitter. If you are viewing tonight, you should have gotten the notification that Pearls of Great Price is on. And so welcome if you're joining in from Twitter. If you're joining in from YouTube, good night and welcome. We are in the 8th month, the month of new beginnings, and we have dubbed it the month of transition. So if you have been following my page for the past few days, I have been hinting at this topic of transition. And we started by framing it into 3 steps to overcome transition paralysis. And tonight I just want to speak on the first step, and that is developing a resilience mindset. So again, if you're just joining us and you're here live with me, say hello. Let me know I'm not alone. And if you catch the replay, just hashtag replay so I'll be sure to get that notification and still engage with you. If perchance you've never seen me before and you've never heard of Pearls of Great Price Empowerment Services, I'd like to welcome you. You've made a good choice to tune in tonight. Stay tuned. You will be served a great meal tonight. So again, we'll be looking at the topic overcoming transition paralysis, as we have dubbed this month the month of transition. And we'll be looking at the first step in overcoming transition paralysis, developing a resilience mindset. And so, what is this resilience mindset about? And by now, if you've been viewing me for some time, you know I love to look at words and I love to deconstruct words and ensure that we have a paradigm, we have parameters to work with, we set the foundation well so that when we start, we understand the foundation that we're working with. And so a resilience mindset is something that is able to withstand the test of time. Something that is it's able to withstand bounce back, come back again, reframe, recalibrate, and come again and stay the course. And so, if we are saying that the first step in overcoming transition paralysis is developing a resilience mindset, what we are in fact telling you is that you have to develop the ability to withstand the test of time and to withstand whatever your transition will throw at you. So that's the first word we want to put into context. Resilience, withstand, bounce back, stick to itiveness, recalibrate, reconstruct, and come at it again. Then we're looking at the theme for this month, transition, moving from one place to the next. It also hints of a journey. It also hints of a process. And so why are we at Pearls of Great Price Empowerment Services focusing on this whole concept of transition? Because we see it necessary that persons, women especially, must understand when they are in a transitional period, and they must be equipped with the tools and the strategies to overcome and to strategically navigate these transitions that they would find themselves in. I'd just like to say good night to Shura. Thanks always for coming back on and showing your support. It means a lot to us at Pearls of Great Price. Thank you. Share the live. Call a friend. Tell them we're on so that they can come on as well. And so as women, we go through transition after transition after transition. As long as you are in this life, you will go through transitions. And so the key to a successful transition is, as I said, understanding how to apply different tools and different strategies, understanding how to discern where you are in your transition, and understanding how you're going to navigate how? Through your transition to your next step. So we're looking at resilience, we're looking at transition, and the third word that we have to put into context is paralysis. And we all understand what it means to be paralyzed, unable to move, unable to walk. And so picture yourself in a transition that life would throw at you. And the term paralysis suggests that you're stuck, you're immobilized, you cannot move because you are unsure how to navigate through this transition. And for many of us, and I say us, many of us, you see my fingers pointed right back at me. I'm talking to me, I'm talking to us tonight. And for many of us, we have been in that position, realizing that we are in the middle of a transition and not knowing what to do, not knowing how to navigate, not knowing what tools, what competency, what strategy do I need? How do I put a plan together to get through this transition? And so this is where we find ourselves. And so that's why we are going to focus on this theme of transition. So every time you see me on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, every time my guest would come on, we would be dissecting this theme of transition for you. So at the end of the month of August, the 8th month, the month of new beginnings, the month of transition, you will be in a better place to navigate through the transitions that you are facing in your life. And so now that we understand the key terms in this whole theme, developing a resilience mindset as it deals with transition, and how can Tashura, how can Jiselle, how can we overcome transition paralysis? So let's ask ourselves this question. If we have to develop a resilience mindset, we should be asking ourselves, what are the hindrances to develop a resilience mindset? And I want to give you the first one. The first hindrance to develop a resilient mindset or resilience mindset is this word, waiting. You see, when you're in a transition, we make the mistake sometimes of staying in a position of waiting too long. When you're in a transition, there is need, yes, to pause, to recalibrate, to regroup. But then, because we are unsure of where we're heading, we are unsure of how to navigate to this next stage in our lives, we stay in a position of waiting. And in that position of waiting, it works against us developing the mindset of resilience. Because what happens in that position of waiting, we start to question ourselves. We long for the place we left. We want to go back. We prefer to go back. Even though we cannot go back many times, we have outgrown that place. And so we must move forward. We must transition to the next stage in our lives. And we stay waiting, hoping that things could go back to the way they were. And you cannot develop resilience if you're in a position of waiting and longing for what was. As I put together this whole concept, I am reminded of Lot's wife. Remember? If you're here on the live with me and you know that story, say, yeah, you remember. I remember. What happened to her? She looked back. And for many of us in our periods of transition, that's what we do. We stay in that position of waiting and look back. We're looking back. We're longing for what was. We're hoping that, we could just, if we could only go back. And so that is the first step that works against us developing a mindset of resilience or a resilience mindset. Because if you have to develop resilience, you have to have forward movement. You have to be thinking futuristically. You have to be thinking about what is before you, what is ahead. So ask yourself tonight, what are you waiting on? Why are you waiting still? If you're joining us again tonight, welcome. This is Live with Jiselle on a Thursday night, and we're looking at the topic overcoming transition paralysis, and I'm giving you a few points on how you can do that. We're firstly looking at the hindrances to overcoming transition paralysis, and the first hindrance is waiting, and how waiting works against us when we're in transition. The second hindrance to developing a resilience mindset is that you're waiting for a perfect time. In transition, you have to understand that time is fluid. It accelerates, then it slows down, then it pauses, then it accelerates, then it slows down. And what you have to do when you're in transition and you're understanding the timing and the movement and the ebb and the flow, you have to get in the rhythm of the transition. You have to get in the timing of the transition. Because if in transition you're accelerating and you still want to go slow, you see how you're working at opposite ends. And for some of us, and many of us, we're waiting on the perfect time. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. Waiting for the perfect time. We have to grab a hold of the movement, and we have to begin to understand the period that you're in and move in alignment, in sync. That's the word. Move in sync with the time. Because there's never a perfect time when you're in transition. You have to understand the movement of time and get in sync with the movement. And that buoys you in your transition. And that's the thing that moves you forward in your transition. One more hindrance to developing a resilient mindset. Waiting for things to line up perfectly before you make a move. I want to suggest to you, won't happen. And so what will happen is that you will stay in that position of transition paralysis. Yeah? And that's what I want to encourage you to move from, that position. And we could go on with other hindrances. Fear is a big hindrance to developing a mindset of resilience. You're just simply afraid of where this transition is taking you. I like where I am. I'm comfortable with where I am. I'm happy with where I am. I'm not too sure about where I'm heading. So let's assess ourselves tonight. Are we engaging in any of these activities? We need to develop the ability to withstand the transition that we are in. Come what may, we are moving forward. And so we can't be waiting indefinitely. We can't be waiting for a perfect time. We can't be waiting for things to line up perfectly. We can't be paralyzed with fear. We can't want to stay in our comfort zone. We can't be looking back, longing at the past. All those things are counterproductive. They work against developing the mindset that you need for a transition. How long a transition will be, how long your transition will be, how long my transition will be, I cannot say. But what I can say is that we need to develop that mindset of resilience to navigate through and come out on the other side. Stacy, good night and welcome. Yes, Stacy is identifying. We go back because it's familiar. And you know what to do, you know how to act, You have gotten, everything down to a T in the familiar place. And so that's why you are in a state of transition paralysis. But we must move forward tonight. And so before we end tonight, I want to leave you with a few words on how to develop. So we understand some hindrances to developing a resilient mindset. How do we develop a mindset of resilience? And it's an acronym I developed called KOBAP. KOBAP. And it stands for Know Your Story, Own Your Story, and be at peace with your story. Know, K, own, O, be at peace with your story. And I just put it in the comments for those of us who are on live. And what does this have to do with developing a resilient mindset? Well, everything. Your story, when I use the term your story, I'm talking about your process, your journey of life, and what you have been through up to this point. Because if we are to get better at navigating through life's disruptive transitions, we have to understand the processes and the vagaries and the intricacies of our lives. We have to analyze and study our lives like as if it's a test. Because we would need to pinpoint the areas that we need to develop. And we need to let go of. We need to pinpoint the gaps, and we need to identify the tools and the strategies that we need at every point or every juncture in your life. And if you're just going from season to season, que sera, sera, whatever will be. That's not being strategic. You will always be in a situation where you are fearful of the transition that you will face. Hear me? That you will face. You will always be making the same missteps because you're not studying the processes of your life and you're not identifying, okay, I handled this better this time. But what do I still need to help me to handle this area, to deal with these transitions in your life? And if you're listening to me, you're probably, well, could you give me an example of a transition? I think I understand what you're saying, Jiselle. A transition could be anything. The start of a new job, leaving a job, starting a new church. Yeah? You have to be able to understand that you are leaving a community of people, a church community, and you're entering a new church community of people. And it's in that in-between stage, yeah, the leaving and entering. It's the stage between leaving and entering. That's a transition for you. And so you have to understand what tools, what strategies you need to navigate this transition of leaving one church community and entering a new church community. And the better able you are to do that, the more successful you will be in integrating and engaging and starting life again and getting involved. Yeah? Starting a new job. Similarly, it's the state of in between, of leaving and starting again. That's a transition. And so that's why I say many of us are in transition paralysis. We don't know what to do between leaving the last job and starting the new job. And we just think it will just happen automatically. It's no big deal. It's just one job and another. No, 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 no. You have to analyze where you are coming from, the things, the good things that you learned and you will keep, the things that you need to throw away that will not serve you in this new place that you're going, so that you are entering this new place very aware, yeah, and ready. Marriage is a transition. My single ladies, hey, if anyone is online, you know we talk about that transition. It's not magic. You're not going to blink your eye and know what to do. And you have to be prepared for this transition. And I could go on and on. A simple transition. And if you're on here live with me tonight, dieting, eating healthy, exercising, OMG. That's a transition. As simple as that is, it's a transition. Transitioning, moving from an unhealthy lifestyle to a healthy one. And for many of us, you know, that has been beating us year after year after year. So a transition could be anything. And so what I'm suggesting to you, you have to know at every juncture of your life, your story. Look at the last transition that you went to as it relates to your job. If you have changed jobs, have you done things differently between those jobs in those transitions? Are you seeing that you're making the same missteps between those jobs? Well, then if you're honest and your answer is yes, then you need to adopt some new strategies in navigating a future job transition. And with any other type of transition, that's the type of analysis you would have to do. And in doing that, you will thereby develop the type of mindset that you will need to approach this transition. A resilient mindset speaks of, firstly, yes, the ability to withstand and push through, come what may. But it also means the ability to take the lessons learned, yeah, and repurpose them and repackage them and put it back to use. Reconstructed. So resilience, expanding your knowledge about your process and acquiring new knowledge that you can use to help you in your transition process, is also resilience. Because that, in doing that, it helps you to withstand. Some transitions are harder than some. And so you have to know what you need and how you will apply those tools and strategies. So tonight, we just touched the tip of the iceberg. But it's enough to get you started, to get you thinking and analyzing, doing the self-analysis on where you are in your life. Are you in the middle of a transition? You don't know how to move. You're not sure how to move. Well, that's the term I use. You're in transition paralysis now. And so the next step for you is to start looking at your mindset, your thinking, your perspective, and how you can develop that mindset of resilience, or that resilience mindset, to start the process of transition. You have to know your story. You have to own your triumphs and your missteps. You have to be at peace with it. Because if you're not at peace that you are in a transition, and that it's forward momentum, and if you're kicking against this momentum, then you're not at peace. So if you're listening to me tonight, are you at peace? Some transitions, as I like to say, you choose, and some transition, other people and circumstances, they choose it for you. So whichever type of transition you are in tonight, one of your choosing or one that was chosen for you, you need to be at peace and then strap up your bootstraps, or as I like to say, put on those heels again and start stepping in the direction of the transition. Firstly, adopting that resilient mindset. I will withstand this transition. I will be so self-aware because I am analyzing myself. I am applying new techniques and strategies. I'm engaging with new knowledge that will help me to withstand this transition. Again, using the transition of moving from one job to the next. In the transitionary period, it may mean that in between stage, you have to do another course to get you prepared for the next stage. And that's what I mean. Resilience is also engaging with knowledge, expanding knowledge, and also application of the knowledge to help you get to the next stage and to help you withstand the period. So I hope you got the gist of these points tonight. Overcoming transition paralysis. You need to understand the whole concept of what is a transition. You need to understand the whole concept of having a resilient mind. You need to understand the background to transition paralysis. What are the hindrances? Fear, longing for your comfort zone, waiting for the perfect time and for everything to line up perfectly, and staying in a position of waiting, not actively waiting, but just waiting and hoping that things will smooth out and I wouldn't have to go forward. And dealing with your fears. And so I want to suggest to you, when you deal with the mind, and when you set that foundation of having a resilient mindset, you're already on your way to a successful transition. A resilient mindset will help you to avoid further pitfalls, of narrow-mindedness and narrow thinking. You'll be able to take off the blinders and expand your view of what is ahead of you. You'll be able to dream again. That's all parcel of developing a mindset of resilience. It forces you to dream again. Go back to the drawing board. Okay, let me see. What can I change? Where did I go wrong? And you get excited again about your transition. So tonight, I really want to encourage you. Start the process of overcoming transition paralysis. And how do you do that? Start by working on your mind. The Bible says that we have to renew our minds. And if we are renewing our minds, then we are developing the mindset of resilience. Because if our minds are in Christ and renewed in Christ, then it's a resilience that only Christ can give to us to withstand life's disruptive transitions. Well, this has been Live with Jiselle on a Thursday evening. And again, I want to remind you, we will be here every Tuesday at 9 p.m., every Thursday like tonight at 9 p.m., and every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. right here on the Pearls of Great Price Empowerment Services Facebook page. We'll also be live on Twitter. We'll be also live on YouTube. So for this month, we are amping it up. We are coming to serve you. So you know what I want you to do for me? Just be here, okay? Don't let me take my meal and have to go back with it. So good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Share the live if you know you have a friend, a sister who needs to hear this message of overcoming transition paralysis. And we'll be back again on Saturday morning, continuing on our theme of the month of transition. Until then, bye.